welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. David Hooper, and today I am thrilled to introduce my guest, Geert Van Nieuwenhove, and I'm so excited for this conversation because Geert has a passion for acting, theatre, superhero movies, and so many other interests that we're going to dive into today, all of which I am so interested in myself. So it's going to be a really unique conversation. So I hope you're ready to be inspired and equipped with some strategies as we explore the world of high performance through an acting lens, which I'm so excited to get into. So, Geert, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invitation, David.
It's completely my pleasure. It's the question I always really like to start with relates back to the title of the podcast, and that is The Unstoppable Introvert. And I'm really interested to know, what does unstoppable look like or mean to you?
For me, it basically means that you have the mindset to follow your own path and not listen to what everyone else around you is telling you or what you should do. So don't get diverted and follow your own way.
Yeah, absolutely. Such great advice. And I'm really interested to know as well, your, background in acting and theatre is so interesting. How did you initially get into that field?
I got into that field by accident. I had an accident that I hurt my arm, that I had to go under several operations. Otherwise, I
Wow.
would have lost my arm. And when you have to revalidate all that you could do, and you can't do it for a certain amount of time, when you're a teenager, you're looking for an outlet to do other things. And I met an actress. She took me under her wings, and she started teaching me the love for theater and acting, and that's how it all started.
Wow, it's such a great story. By accident you found
Yeah.
this interest, which is so interesting. And was that a challenge to start to act? Because I think sometimes as introverts we see, performing or being center stage with all the eyes on us as a real, something we might go, actually, I'm not sure I'd like that. How did you overcome that or deal with that situation?
It's a mindset. It's a switch you turn on. You stay true to yourself. You want to do something. You want to show something, and you can't let yourself stop by what everyone else is thinking about you. There will always be people who don't agree with it, who don't like what you're doing, and the key in the art is just follow your path, do what you want to do, and the outcome will always be better than you expect.
Absolutely. And when you started your acting career,
Mhm.
that's a tough industry to get into. What were those early years like when it comes to getting confident or going to auditions?
Um, Very challenging because you're new, you're getting into an industry of which you don't know anything about. You have to learn a lot. Okay, you're following lessons for theater, for everything else. But then when you're actually on there, you learn that not everything is what it looks like or what you've been taught, and you learn new things. So it's always learning new things. You're not an expert in it. You're always an eternal student.
I think again that it's such good advice. And for those who haven't met you yet, how do you introduce yourself to those people?
Well, I keep it simple. On social media, I focus on three, maximum four things: my acting, my hobby, so that people get to know a bit of me aside from the acting things that I do. What I like, where I like to go, that can be multiple things, and the networking that I'm building. That are mostly the four things on Instagram, Facebook, on other profile pages that I'm concentrating my profile, because a lot of people who are in the industry do watch what you're doing online on social media. Many people joke about it. Oh, you can do whatever you want. Throw in pictures of your journey, holiday, but they don't realize when you're in a certain industry that it gives a certain vibe to other people, and you have to be careful with that.
That's really interesting. And I was going to save the social media to later, but while we're talking about it, you've got over, I think, 50,000 followers on Instagram.
Mhm.
What was that process like, building that audience as an introvert?
Well, I concentrated my profile in building a network. That was my first goal for people in the industry, for things that I like to do. And I noticed that week after week that went up. And my fellow colleagues noticed that too. And many of them asked me, how are you actually doing that? Are you paying for followers? What are you doing? And like I explained to a few others, the main key is you don't have to treat people like followers. You have to interact with them, talk to them, be genuinely interested in what they are doing, follow them if you like what they're doing, and stay in touch. And that's how I built most of my followers.
It's fabulous to hear that you have well, it's great that you've built such a large following. I'm so thrilled for you, and I think that shows the work that you've done building that network. And I do have a question about that, but before I ask the that one,
Mhm.
um, as introverts, and I do generalize quite a lot, maybe it's just me, I'm not sure. Networking for us can be, quite tiring, whether it's in person or online. And it takes a lot out of us to network sometimes. How do you approach networking? Because it sounds like you're very good at it.
Um, I know what I want to do. I know what my goal is, and I stick to it. Mostly people, when they're networking, they want to know that person, that person, that person, that person, and you have a whole range of which you can't overlook anymore. So I stick to certain groups and I focus on that. And that's how I build my network. Large groups, it gets overwhelming.
I was just about to say exactly that. I'm writing these bits down. I am ready to take these bits forward because it's such great advice. And I have always wanted to give back to my audience and to write loads of messages and comment and all these different things. But I get very overwhelmed with that exactly what you're talking about. So if those people who are very similar to myself or are listening to this wanted to network better online, what
Mhm.
would be your advice for starting that process?
Well, the way I doing it, but I can't guarantee that it's gonna work for everyone. To avoid that overwhelming feeling, I started putting time and experience into voiceover acting. So animations, that kind of things. It's a whole other world. You have to know a whole new set of rules or how to navigate it. But with that, you have a certain anonymity because people don't see your face, they hear your voice. You don't have to imagine how am I coming over or anything, and it's less overwhelming that way, and you can start building up and going in the things you're doing like podcasts and everything.
And do you have a strategy for actually doing that stuff? Like, do you put an hour aside a day to send messages on Instagram, for example, or how do you build that into your day?
um, no, not exactly. I don't take time out of it specifically. I just go with the feeling, with the flow. When I feel I have something to say or I want to say something or put something on the internet, I prepare it and I do it. As simple as that.
I think a lot of the time it is a bit of overthinking with this stuff instead of just
Yeah.
just doing it and going with the flow. So it's really interesting to hear your perspective on that. And when you talk about grouping people, do you kind of think, right, who who's good for me to network with professionally, and you might make a note of those people, or again, is it a little bit less formal than that?
Oh, there's no wrong kind of people that you can choose to network with. You just have to stay true to what you want to achieve and work with that. Not everyone will be accepted in your groups, but that's no problem. As long as you get along with someone, you build a friendship, you build a connection, you build a work relationship, and from something small, something big can happen. You never know.
How valuable is networking in your industry, in acting and that world?
Um, I would say 50-50, because people look at what you're doing, your education, what you put out, and on the other 50, people also look on who you know, who you're interacting with, who you're keeping in touch with, what you're actually doing to train yourself, with who you're doing it. So it always has value.
Definitely. And if I bring you back to the social media side of
Mhm.
things, 50,000 plus people is a lot of followers and a lot of eyes on
Yeah,
you.
it's going up and down. me, for me, I don't actually value that number. Okay, you can't look aside it, but it doesn't really mean anything for me because I'm not gathering followers. I'm building a network. Okay, it's nice if someone wants to follow me. Um, if they want to unfollow me or not do that, even nice. I'm still going to do my own thing that I want to do. It doesn't really matter. But I know from experience that companies, casting directors, and others look at it to see um, that what you're doing has an effect or not.
When was the moment that your social media started to grow so big? Was there a moment where you just started to gain lots of followers, or was it more gradual over time?
Um, I think it started to explode when I made my account on Twitter, X now, and I keep things a bit separate, like in those group that I just talked about. On Twitter, it's mostly everyone on the industry from the UK, and I started looking them down on Facebook and Instagram, and I added them there, and that's how it all started.
Is there a sense of pressure that comes with leading that many people?
For me, no, not at all. Like I said, I don't let my actions lead by that number. I'm not going to do more because I have that many followers than I'm doing right now. Um, I have a lot of things to do. like studying for my acting classes, auditions that I go to. I have work enough. I report some things on my Instagram from what I'm doing so that people see also the school where I'm going, what I'm doing. But no, I don't feel pressure to do that every day.
That's good. I think that keeps your authenticity really shines through, and it means you're not putting on an act, and people are seeing you and the real you, which I think it's actually something introverts maybe struggle with a little bit. They don't accept themselves for who they are. They put a mask on almost, and yeah, it's incredible to see what you're doing and doing exactly what all of us should be doing, which is just being our true authentic selves. Taking it back to your acting career, then, what was the start of that journey like for you in terms of I'm thinking about those first early auditions. Were they all successful, or was there any challenging moments?
No, they were far from successful. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here. um, no, you have to learn with falling and growing how things work, how to make yourself feel easy in the room or on a stage. No, that comes with time. Most actors tell you that you have to do 20 years or even more to be a successful actor. There's a certain truth in that because you have to learn. It's an education. You have to experience it. You have to learn from your mistakes. You have to find out what's your thing and what's not. So yeah, it takes time.
And what was the worst audition experience that you've had?
The one where I forgot my lines. And that was for a theater play. Of course, I didn't got the play. That was obvious, but it was the first thing that my teacher are still telling me now that you really have to know your lines inside out and not thinking on, oh, I can know my text, I'm going to do it. There's so many things that happen on stage, people that react, spotlight on you, you getting nervous, getting your nerves under control, and then you forget your text.
I can imagine how challenging that would have been. How did you deal with
Yeah.
that situation?
Well, it's a shame at that moment. You can only do better the next time and prepare more.
Absolutely. And with that in mind, then, something
Mhm.
that gives me confidence when I'm doing different talks or doing bits and pieces is my preparation. So I try and feel really prepared. So although I'll feel nervous beforehand, at least I know I'm prepared. What does your pre-audition process look like?
Well, it's the same as like you're saying. Just when, for example, for tomorrow, I'm pre-selected for an audition um, for a certain car brand. And what I'm doing is I'm going to search what that brand is, what that car stands for, that I know what I'm talking about if I have to talk about it. I know I prepare my lines that I know them if they ask me something to do, and I make sure that I'm relaxed, that I'm not nervous when I'm getting there. So I'm always more in advance of time, never too late, uh, and that's how I prepare.
That's yeah, so interesting that process. And when do you start that process of preparation? Does it is it quite quite close to the audition, or does that has it been going on for a number of days?
um, when I put myself up for an audition, I'm going to research what it is in advance before I put myself as a candidate. In the situations where I'm pre-selected, when a casting director tells you the director already chosen you as one of the candidates, that's the script, that's the thing that is expected, then I'm trying to research everything that goes around it and with it to be prepared. But you can't have everything in hand at the moment. There's a lot of spontaneous behavior to it too.
Definitely. And I've asked about what was the worst audition you've had. It's only fair to ask what was the best audition you've had as well.
Um, my best so far, and that's already a few years ago, that was when I was selected to do 3 commercials. They did a bit more later on to be the face of La Française des Jeux, which is the French counterpart of Euro Millions for Europe. And I did that for a few years, and that was very nice. Being in
Superb.
Paris and everything. So now, if you drop me in Paris, I know my way around.
Excellent. Oh, that's so good. And when we think about acting, then obviously the big thing that you have to do
Mhm.
is learn the lines. What's that process like?
Well, it starts with reading the script, analyzing it, marking the lines that I have to do, thinking what that character would say, how they would react, building the entire character, and then you start learning it.
Is it just repetition? Read them over and over again, or is there a process that you use?
Well, yes, you start with that. You read the entire script first, that you know what every character is saying. You make notes of what every character is, what their background is, um, how you can put a part of yourself in that, and yeah, you make your homework to say it in advance.
Has there been times where you've had a lot of lines to learn?
Yeah. Yeah. Not that often, but yeah, I already had that situation. And that's where one of the film directors in the UK helped me with line learning. Also at my school, they helped me with it when you had to do a self-tape for those lines. So yes, happened already.
I'm really intrigued to get into your background a little bit, Geert, because you've done so much already, whether it's been acting, commercials, films. What do you like best? Where's your favorite place to act?
It switches from TV to commercials. Those are the things that I like, that I feel best in.
Why is that? Why are those two the best for you?
It gives me, being an introvert myself, a lot of freedom to doing my thing without being restricted to a certain box.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. So let's keep going with that. So I've been on some film sets before, and not to your level, but
Mhm.
I know how busy it can be. There's cameras all over the place. There's people running about, and all these different things. How, as an introvert, do you stay focused on the task in hand and not feel overwhelmed in that kind of high pressure environment?
Well, at the school where I'm going, ACT in Belgium, my mentor teaches us how to control our breathing, how to control our fear, how to control yourself, that you're not over excited about everything, and to avoid fear getting into you, and to avoid forgetting your lines. That takes time. It's a process. It's not
Mm.
with a finger snip that you know it. Um, but that's how I prepare myself when I have to be on set.
So, what does that look like in action? Because I think a lot of the listeners today who
Mhm.
are hanging on your every word might not be actors, but they might have a high pressure work environment, or even they might want to just perform better at work, but they allow the fear to get in. They allow it to paralyze them almost. So what does that look like for you? Is there steps you work through to keep calm?
Well, for some people, it can be through yoga. For me, it's controlling my breath. So I'm getting calm. I'm getting normal, not excited, not fear that I'm staying in the moment. There are exercises, sensory exercises that we actors are taught from our mentors. I think you can teach that in every acting school, but people have to be open to do that because it takes time. It's not something that happens overnight and you can do it tomorrow. You have to be knowing what you're doing in the first place and practice that.
So powerful advice, and I think so many people are going to look into that because, like I said, I think that sometimes stops introverts from applying for a higher job or going for the audition or all these different things on a normal day. Then, because like you talk about, you do post little clips or little pictures of your sets and all the great things that you're doing. It's a little bit of a teaser of what you're doing. What does a normal day for you look like when you have something to film? Take us through your day when you're on set.
Mm-hmm. I prepare everything. I put everything in my car. If I have to take clothing with me on set, I part from home more in advance, so you have to be able to connect a bit time and distance. If you know that you're going to drive an hour and a half to get there, you make sure you depart before that, so you have time in advance for if something happens. When I come to the set, I go directly to the person who's responsible on the set, report my presence, if I can help, if they want me to change or anything. And I check my lines a bit more, and that's how I do my day. And for the rest, it's when you're on the set, listening to what the director wants and doing your things, doing your lines, focusing on your colleague actors, those things.
And I think something that a lot of people don't know is how long some of these days can be. There's a lot that goes into, filming even just one scene. How do you cope with those long days and stay focused?
That's something you know in advance if you want to start in that kind of business, that you have to accept that those things can happen. Otherwise, you don't have to start it in it. It's as simple as that.
When it comes to your acting, then, what has been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome to get to where you are?
um, I would say that's the mindset.
Mm.
Thanks to my teacher, Abbas Fazai, who is an international actor too. He learned me not to judge too quickly, to be open-minded, and to be willing to be molded into that actor, because it's an education you're doing, and like everything, like every education, you have to put time, effort, financial money in it. It doesn't happen overnight, and that was um, my biggest obstacle, because when I started at school, I had something, oh, I've done my thing in theater and I know it all, and I'm just going to say it here. Oh boy.
And has there ever been a moment where you've had to overcome things like imposter syndrome or self doubt? Because as introverts, I've had quite a lot of conversations where it's those types of things, imposter syndrome, self doubt, where again it's like the introvert won't apply for the job or talk to that person because why would anyone want to talk to me? I'm got so much imposter syndrome. Have you ever had to go through anything like that?
Yes, of course. Certainly, when you are selected for an audition for a certain role in which you know that a lot of high level A-class actors are participating and they ask you to do your thing, um, then you always have the feeling, oh boy, what am I going to do there? They're so much better than I am. They're so much further than I am. And one casting director told me once, don't think about it. If they ask you to be there, they see something in you and you've already done something good, so don't fret about it.
That's such a great line. That is excellent. And I love that because that you've been chosen and there's a reason for it. Was At what point did you move from that self-doubt to, okay, you know what, I deserve to be here as well?
I think that's always a work in progress because the more you learn, the more you're evolving and growing. And the things that you might think right now may be different in a few weeks. So that's always a growing part.
Acting is such a challenging industry to be part of. What's the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome so far in your career?
Um, the end part, when everything is done
Mm.
and you're invited to the red carpet with all the actors, that I find scary. That's my scary moment because I hear a lot of people who want to be in acting just because of that and that experience. Um, but I rather like to do the acting than when you have a whole group of people staring at you and asking you questions.
I bet, I bet. I've never thought of it like that. That's a really interesting take because I suppose when you're acting, you've got your lines, so you know what you're going to say.
Like an American casting director says, it's like being scared for success, and
Mm.
that it is because um, when you're starting out, you have your experience, you have your failures, you know what's working and what's not, and you're doing the auditions. But from the moment that you actually get them and you do your job, and afterwards people commend you about it, that's something completely new because you don't have experience with that.
What was that like for the first time?
Scary. I wanted to run away and bye.
Oh, that's so good. So how did you deal with that? And has that improved since that first time? Have you got used to that?
It has improved, but it's still something I'm not very keen about it. I'm not something. I'm not a person who does acting because he wants to be famous. He wants to be a celebrity, a lot of followers and everything. That doesn't matter for me. I just want to do my thing, the things that I feel good about it, and that's it. And I'm still in the process of learning to accept that when you do something good, that is the end result, and that you have to deal with that too.
Really, really interesting. I think that's such a good perspective. And I also love the the reasons behind what you're doing. I think you're absolutely right. People are drawn to the fame or the red carpets or the celebrity side of things, but actually when you start to do what you love to do, that's
Hmm.
that's that's where fulfillment is and that's where happiness is. I think people think that if they go to the other side, in the celebrity side or the fame side, they're going to be happy. When actually it's the first
It's the way
side.
around. It's the
Yeah,
way around.
yeah. So I think that's so interesting. And if it's all right, can you tell us about your theatre work as well? Because that's a whole different challenge.
Yeah, true. It's adapting. I can say no more than that. It's adapting to the situations, because when you think you're ready about it, something else is always happening to prove you wrong, and that are the most exciting moments because you get to learn other possibilities, other situations, and you get experience from it.
Do you prepare differently for, say, a stage performance compared to being on film, or is it the same process?
The process of doing the lines, analyzing the script, and everything is more or less the same. The only difference is that on a stage, when you talk, you have to make sure that everything you say carries to the back of the
Mm.
theater because those people have to hear you too. And on television, with a camera and a microphone above or under you, you can't yell because otherwise it's ah! So it's just an adjustment in volume on your voice.
And does being on stage bring excitement, I'm sure, but does it bring that nerves as well? Because it's obviously live with people staring right at you.
Yeah, it's totally different there too because on television everyone sees you afterwards after you've done the job, and on stage you're actually doing the job and everybody is there and you're aware of them. So that's why I prefer to do film and commercial. Less stress, less thinking that everyone is looking at your hands.
Just linking this back to acting, there is some challenging times or setbacks in any actor's journey. How do you keep going when there are those setbacks or challenges?
Well, you have to love the industry in which you want to be part of in the first place. Secondly, you have to be willing to educate yourself in everything what's happening. And thirdly, the mindset. You have to accept that not everything will go positively, that not everything is in your reach to control. Because I'm a control freak too, so I like the everything perfect and neat, so to avoid anything else. So yeah, motivated, your love for it, and your consistency to do what you want to do.
And has that evolved over time? Because I can imagine if, let's say, there's a part you really wanted and you thought you were a good fit, but you didn't get that role, there was probably a time where you would have felt quite sad or down. Has that process of not getting a part, for example, and being able to go, okay, I can just focus on the next part, has that process evolved for you?
Yeah, because now with the network and the friends that I build up, I know that I have people with who I can always talk about it without being judged or anything, and that helps a lot for yeah, when you fail in getting a job.
Yeah. And what is one lesson your acting career has taught you that you think every introvert should learn at some point in their life?
Um, educate yourself and don't let others get you from where you want to go.
I think that's so important. How do we get to that point? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that, if I'm being completely honest. I think maybe it's a parent or a work colleague or even your best friend who's like, no, you don't want to do that. I think that's a how do we get to that point?
Well, the first thing is the mindset, of course. We're programmed to operate in our society on a certain way. We listen to everybody, and everybody has his opinion. And in the end, yeah, you follow everything aside your own opinion. And in the mindset that I've learned is that listen to yourself, stay true to yourself, and stay consistent in what you want to get.
Yeah, some great advice.
And that also takes time. That's things that I had to learn too. It doesn't happen overnight.
Absolutely. And I think that again, you've given so much today. It's so good. That is such another key aspect of all of this: time and patience. I think a lot of people expect immediate success when actually, similar to what you said, some actors it takes 20 years to break into this type of thing. So I think that's it's so important. And if there are introverts listening who are interested in the entertainment industry or becoming an actor, what advice would you give them to getting started with that?
um, Make sure that you first know the industry you want to get into. Being a dancer is totally different than being an actor. It had a whole other set of rules you have to follow, and treat everything like an education. Being an actor is a job. If you want to be a bartender, you have to know what it all comes with it. You have to follow an education, you have to train yourself in it, you have to put energy and time and money in it. It's the same thing for any other job that you want to do in the entertaining industry.
And how do introverts use their kind of unique strengths to stand out in, say, auditions or performances or other creative projects?
Know yourself, know what your strong points are and what are the points that you have to work on. Um, Me, for myself, I'm very strong in the empathic sense, so I sense and feel a lot, and I can use that when I have to focus on my co-actor, and when I have to pull up emotions. So know your strengths and know how to play that out.
And can you share any tips for introverts for effectively managing their energy or their productivity?
Well, know yourself to begin with. Know what are your strong points. Know what you're good at it, and evolve that. Take classes for it. If you're very good at empathic and feeling, take classes toward that direction. If you're good at leading someone, take classes in leadership, those things. But it comes all down to willing to train yourself and invest in yourself.
That's so key. So key. And I think again that's something that people, I'm generalizing, may not want to do. They want the quick wins like we've talked about. But investing in themselves and having that lifelong learning approach is so valuable. What about how you relax after all of this? Because it is a high pressure environment, lots of energy delivering your performance. How do you make sure you stay energized? How do you recharge your batteries?
Well, for me as an introvert, like I said, I'm not very keen on big groups, so you don't going to see me going to music festivals or anything, or football games. Not my thing. I energize myself by reading a book, playing a computer game, spending time with my dog, those
Nice.
things.
I love all of those options. Sound better to me than the big music gig. That's for
Yeah, I
sure.
noticed you have a dog too.
All of them sound great, and I think this is a really good time to bring up your love for um, the superhero movies and Star Trek and all of that genre, because I'm a
Mhm.
huge fan of them as well. So I was so excited to see that you were interested in those as well. So tell me about that. Where did that love come from for superhero movies?
Well, the reason for that is my mom actually. Apparently, when I was still a little kid, 8, 9 years old, I was very hyperactive, very the opposite of introvert actually. And at a certain time, my mom got so annoyed with me when she was working, and she put me in front of the TV. She took a channel that was a German channel, and there was Star Trek in German, and that was my first experience, and I was hooked for life.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. They're excellent movies and films. So it's
So
so
you have to blame her for my love
yeah.
for Star Trek.
I know. I love that. I love that. And what do you make of all of the Marvel films over the past 10 years? Has that been interesting for you to see develop and kind of, they were just a huge moment in our cinematic history, wasn't it? They kind of took over for 10 years or so.
Yeah, that was a fantastic time because I grew up with my grandparents because my parents had to work every day and didn't have time to raise me. And my grandfather brought me the love for the comic books, the hero stuff, and everything. With the saying, you have the popular saying, with great powers comes great responsibility. And he always taught me to try to do the right thing, even if it's not in your advantage. And that's why I love those kind of Marvel things, because in between the lines, they have the same essence they want to teach people.
Couldn't agree more. And do you have a favorite Marvel film?
Uh, Not really. For character, I would say Iron Man. And that's not because the character itself, but I'm a sucker for everything what comes with technology and everything.
No, it was such a great time with so many amazing things that were
Yeah,
created. And yeah, I'm sad it's all that that kind of block is all over, really. But who knows what with all the time traveling stuff that they started to do, who knows, some of the characters might make their way back onto our screens.
yeah, indeed.
Excellent. Well, Git, I want to be respectful of your time, but what does the rest of 2024 look like to you? What are some of the big things you're up to?
Uh, well, one of the major things for the moment is getting my foot in the UK, in a matter of speaking, because what most people don't realize, you have the acting side, but you also have the legal side about everything you do. It's not like, oh, I'm going to the UK next week. There's a lot of preparation that come from it, passports, documents, being allowed to work, to perform, to do things like that, and that mostly takes a lot of time to be in touch with all that.
Yeah, and have you got many auditions or projects lined up for later this year?
I have a few. I try to keep it week by week, so I don't overdo myself. But yeah, I have a lot in storage.
And we will all be so excited to see it as you post little hints on your social media. If
Mhm.
there's any introvert listening today who is feeling hesitant about pursuing their dreams, they're allowing their introverted nature to pull them back. What would you say to those people in terms of chasing their dreams?
Um, First, start working on yourself, self care, your own image, your mindset. Then start working on searching everything about the business you want to enter, that you know what you're getting yourself into. Thirdly, start an education, learn everything about that craft. And secondly, even as hard as it might be, don't be afraid to ask advice to people who been there already.
I love that last point. I think is so good because we try and forge these paths where we don't really know where we're going. But if you
Mhm.
can talk to someone who's gone along the same path as you, that makes your life so much easier and so it fast forwards things, doesn't it?
Yeah, then everyone is always free to send me a message and ask for advice. I'm always willing to help people, but in the end, and that I'm saying in advance too, they have to do the work themselves. I can do it for them.
That's so kind of you to offer that, Geert, because you do have a large following and you are a leader for a lot of introverts. Last question. Where is the best place for people to find you and to interact with you? And what are your key social media handles that you might like to share?
Well, I'm mostly active on Instagram and Facebook, so they can find me there. On my Instagram, I made, out of professional point, a link tree where all my profiles are under, where I'm active on, so everyone can reach me if they want.
Absolutely, that's brilliant, and I will add all of your links to this as well, so people
Mhm.
can find you and watch the amazing things that you're doing. Git, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been brilliant to peek behind the curtain and to hear about all of your amazing things that you've done and that you're doing.
Thank you for the invitation, David.
It's my pleasure, and with that comes the end of another Unstoppable Introvert project. Huge thank you to Geert for sharing your insights and passion with us today. And to those who are listening, remember your introversion isn't the thing that will hold you back, it is the thing that will catapult you towards greatness. Until next time, stay unstoppable.